Hey folks, Weatherman Sam, man in the big green hat. I'm here at the Monte Sano Nature Preserve, one of the Lancaster, North Alabama's 8 preserves, in search of wildflowers and maybe unexpectedly some waterfalls. You hear the roar of Fagan Creek behind me. Let's go see what we can find. Fagan Creek's really flowing today. Look at all the trilliums. Maybe a hair early for the trout lilies. This entire thing will be a sea of yellow. A little side stream coming down and crossing. This is an unnamed branch that feeds into Fagan Creek along the Wildflower Trail. Here's some wooden blocks just coming into bloom. Kind of at the tail end of Tootwort here. The shooting stars are coming up. I'll go down to the edge there and see it some. Well, I couldn't quite get up close to the shooting stars without trampling other things, but I could get up to a small patch of the Virginia bluebells that I love. There's a small section of them that bloom here at the preserve. There's many more in the state park along the Sinks Trail. It's always wonderful to see these guys. This is a particularly picturesque section of the preserve. There's two little streams join in. The main channel of Fagan Creek is to the left here. The one to the right comes from the spring itself. We've had quite a bit of rain. And I love all the rocks and the mosses, and it's just covered with trout lilies. Probably in another week or within the next week, all of these will be in full bloom. It'll be a sea of yellow. It's a little bit of a confusing season for wildflowers this go around, much like last year. It was very warm, very cool, very warm, very cool, and it's been more warm than cool this winter. You can see how high on up the May apples are here. And the trout lilies aren't even in bloom yet. Not quite. It's fairly remarkable. There's even a little bud on the May apples I'm seeing. There's a lot of overlap going on. With all this rain, there are tons of springs coming on down from the hillside. the summer there's no water across here at all. This time of year you definitely got to watch your step. It's beautiful looking up through the moss-covered rocks, and these bushes are an invasive species of honeysuckle that they've been battling for years now to try to get under control. But even through them you can see the springs and everything originating from far up on the hill. Across a little bridge here. This used to be one of my favorite little spots to find shooting stars. It's washed so bad now, I haven't found any here in several seasons. There's a roaring spring. It's just out of view. There's no way to get up to it without completely getting wet. Traverses under this bridge on to Fagan Creek. I think every time I come here and video this place, I always show this spot off. A very deep pool. You could certainly call it a blue hole. Though in the summertime there's no water in it at all, especially late summer. But it is deep, deep. This is another little bridge that's been put in. The little spring that it crosses is largely doesn't flow, but the amount of erosion that goes on here with little social paths is really beginning to take a toll on the landscape, especially being the curve in Fagan Creek itself. You can see how much it's being undercut. Anything that can be done to slow the erosion of this area is worthwhile. Beautiful little side stream that feeds into Fagan Creek. I've ventured up it a long ways before off trail. Lots of little trout lilies in bloom on some of the islands, but it's impassable now at all this high water. Here's part of the old stone wall at the nature preserve. It's marked the boundary as far as I know from what I've heard, no property boundary. pretty neat. And the trail ahead even crosses part of it. Oh look, here's some of the shooting stars that I mentioned earlier. And they're not quite in bloom yet. But usually it's April around here before we see them. There's more up ahead. Maybe we'll get lucky. Here's the trail crossing of that wall that I mentioned. You can kind of get an idea and see how it was stacked and whatnot. Unfortunately, it was destroyed here for a piece. It continues on and up. Just above that last nice little cascade is this deep hole here. I'll have to come back in the summer and film this the exact same way. You see how different it looks from season to season. It's all a karst landscape, lots of caves and things throughout here. In the summertime, everything dries up. But in the winter and the spring, it's a sight to behold. And here's the first trillium in bloom of the trip. Beautiful Sweet Betsy's. Another trail crossing. Now this one is not too deep. That limestone is slick. I misspoke earlier. This is actually the split here. The stream going off to the left is just a little side stream. The main channel is literally the main channel of Fagan Creek and where Fagan Spring feeds into. Not sure what I was thinking earlier. It narrows quite a bit through here, even on up through the falls ahead. Coming up on Fagan Springs here. It's gonna be a wet crossing. There ain't no way around this one. Here's the old watering trough. I suppose it was used for horses way back when. The remnants of the pump house, the mill house or something, is off to the left up there. So we'll go uphill a bit. See all this water rushing down before I get my feet wet. And I always point this out in every video. And so far, nobody's been able to explain it to me. But in the rock here, it says JMF. And I assume the F is for Fagan, as in Fagan Springs, which is what this is. The namesake. If anybody out there ever has the story behind that, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure the land trust would too. This is the side of an old mill house or pump house. They haven't been able to discover or figure out which. It's just this little remnants. And the creek over here itself doesn't flow enough, isn't deep enough. There's certainly not a pool, and there's no evidence on the far side of anything ever being dammed up. This makes me wonder if it wasn't a pump house for the spring itself. Because the spring still flows in the summer, but it dries up way, way before it reaches the bottom of this hill. Headed toward Upper Fagan Creek Falls here, folks. Walking straight up the stream on some rocks. It's the only way to get this view of it. With the Niagara Falls around, certainly nowhere near as large as the one at Bethel Spring, or maybe even Allen Cave. This was the first waterfall I fell in love with when I moved to Huntsville, and it'll probably always be my favorite. along with the cool adventure, folks. Hope you enjoyed all the sights and sounds and things we found, the waterfalls and the wildflowers. Till next time, keep exploring and stay wild.